I went to Sikkim, up in the mountains. Went to the chief minister. I said, you have a water problem up in the mountains. Long lines. The World Bank came with a scheme to them. They allow the water to go all the way down to the river and then they pump it all the way back. Thousands of dollars. So I went to the chief minister and I said, I'd like to do some rainwater harvesting. He looked at me very strangely and said, are you a Bengali? I said, yes, I am a Bengali. He said, Bengalis, crazy people. Nutcases. All come with these strange ideas. To me, when my chief engineer says it's technically impossible to do any rainwater harvesting. I said, do you mind if I try? He said, you can try, but don't ask me for money. So, with Sikkim knowledge, Sikkim youth, Sikkim materials, in 1 year, in a village significantly called Saddam, we built the first rainwater harvesting structure. And we collected 160,000 liters. And then I asked the chief minister, would you like to come and open it? He said, you've already done it? I said, yes. He said, can I bring my chief engineer along? I said, yes. So he told the chief engineer, I can see 160,000 liters right here on top of the mountain. You said it was technically impossible. Have you got an explanation? Then, of course, he said something very stupid. He said rainwater harvesting was not in my curriculum. So I'm sorry, I don't know anything about it. I said, what about common sense? He went back, changed the whole policy of Sikkim, gave me 40 tanks to do rainwater harvesting on top of the mountain. And any of his ministers came with crazy ideas. He said, go to that crazy Bengali and come with some common sense. 60% of the children in India don't go to school in the morning because they look after cattle and sheep and goats. In 1975, we started the first night schools for the shepherd boys and girls who had never been to school. We started with solar lanterns, very congested. Then we went, each one of the 150 schools, we have now solar lit. About 200 schools, 7,000 children come to these schools at night. Over 75,000 children have gone through these schools. But the beauty is that the children between ages 6 and 14 have to hold an election. And 7,000 boys and girls, more girls than boys, have an election every 3 years. It's called the Children's Parliament. They elect. We want to teach them about citizenship, about democracy, about how you should choose the right sort of person to be a leader, how you shouldn't buy votes, how you shouldn't cross the line, how you shouldn't be spreading booze just before the elections. But they said they learned this all from their parents. I said, no, that's why you're having this, because this is how you should elect the right leader. That's my Prime Minister. 12 years old, looks after 20 goats in the morning, but she's Prime Minister in the evening. She has a cabinet. That's the cabinet. Between 6 and 14. Minister for Education, Minister for Employment, Minister for Energy. Every month we meet and they have to take whatever decisions the cabinet takes, we have to implement in all the schools. Solar lantern is not working, teachers beating, misusing the lantern. All this is discussed at the cabinet meeting. 4 years ago, she got the World's Children's Prize from the Queen of Sweden. 12 years old, never been outside a village in her life. And she wasn't dazzled by anything around her in Sweden. And the Queen was absolutely mystified. She said, where does this young girl get her confidence from? And she asked me to ask the 12-year-old Prime Minister. I said, "Where did you get your confidence from?" And she looked at the Queen straight in the eye and said, "Please tell her I'm the Prime Minister."
चलेगी थैले में पट्टी, चलेगी थैले में पट्टी, बजेगी साला की घंटी, बजेगी साला की घंटी, ये अब तो सीखने आए सारे दुनिया के बच्चे, ये अब तो सीखने आए सारे दुनिया के बच्चे।
60 to 70% of rural children in India do not have the time to go to school in the morning. They have to work for their families, looking after animals, doing essential domestic work, like fetching firewood and collecting drinking water with their mothers. The night schools were started in 1975 for the convenience of these children. Usually, the timings of the schools in the morning are influenced to suit the convenience of the teachers. But these are schools with a difference.
मेरा नाम है पलमनी मुर्मू, मैं यहाँ प्रभु कॉलेज में रहती हूँ, यहाँ मैं नाइट स्कूल चलाती हूँ.
Literate young men and women who have roots in their villages have been selected and trained for 6 months. They get no certificates or diplomas. They are barefoot teachers. They will never leave their village because they have land or run small provision shops or repair cycles, tractors and pump sets. The children are exposed to how their village institutions function. It was important for them to know how a post office, police station and health center work, to be able to measure their own land and to know what to do when their animal gets sick. For the night schools, everyone is a resource person, from the farmer, midwife, carpenter, weaver, to the policeman and leather worker. As parents, they are invited to share their wisdom regularly by the teachers of the school. What is the importance of night schools? The concept of the night school recognizes the importance of an informal learning system that respects indigenous knowledge and practical skills at the village level. It enforces the belief that there is a difference between literacy and education. Literacy is what the children pick up in school. Education is what they receive from their environment, their community, and their family. By improving the learning environment of the night schools, like providing drinking water through rainwater harvesting, by providing solar lighting instead of kerosene lamps, gives a sense of security. Mothers have started sending their girls to school for the first time. The night schools are also exposing rural children for the first time to the concept of democracy and importance of elections, good and responsible citizenship and leadership. Every 3 years, 4,000 night school children between the ages 6 to 14 elect a Prime Minister. The Prime Minister, with a cabinet of ministers, makes sure that the night schools work properly. So far, all the Prime Ministers have been girls, simply because girls outnumber the boys. The present Prime Minister looks after 20 goats in the morning, but she is Prime Minister in the evening.
मानव संतोष है गांव बसपुरा कक्षा 5वां पढ़ूं मैं 5वीं बाल संसद की प्रधानमंत्री.
For over 9 years now, the 150 night schools are jointly managed, supervised and administered by a children's parliament and the village committee. Since 1975, over 50,000 children have passed through the night schools. They have stayed in their villages and not been pushed to migrate to the city. Most of them have become barefoot teachers, doctors, water and solar engineers, and have also been elected to their village councils. The concept of the night schools has been replicated in desert and tribal areas of Rajasthan into other states like Uttaranchal, Madhya Pradesh, Assam, Bihar and Orissa.
Because we solar electrified the villages in Rajasthan, we thought we'd extend this barefoot approach all over India. The barefoot approach believes in demystifying technology and decentralizing it, right down to the poor. The management, control, and ownership of the technology must be in the hands of the very poor people. Otherwise, no technology will work. The top-down approach will not work. So we started in Ladakh, right up in the mountains. And we went and solar electrified 400 villages in Ladakh. We went to this woman and asked her, what benefit has solar technology reached? What benefit have you had from solar technology? She looked for a minute and thought for a minute and said, it's the first time I can see my husband's face in winter. All the way from Ladakh, up in north, up to Bhutan, 600 villages have been solar electrified by barefoot solar engineers who've never been through school and college. We thought we would extend this outside India, so we went to Afghanistan for the first time. Went to a woman in Afghanistan. I said, I'd like to take this woman to Afghanistan, and the men said, you must be crazy. They don't go out of their building, don't go out of their house, and you think you want to take them to India. So I said, all right, I'll make a concession. I'll take the husband along as well. So the husband came. Infinitely more intelligent the woman was than the man. And in 2005, she went and solar electrified, 3 women went and solar electrified the first villages ever in Afghanistan in 2005. This is the woman who is Gulzaman. This is my best barefoot woman solar engineer, 55-year-old grandmother, illiterate. Solar electrified 200 houses for me up in Afghanistan, still working today. I asked her to meet some engineers from Afghanistan, heads of department, and she actually had the audacity to tell an engineer the difference between AC and DC. He didn't know. Set up a rural electronic workshop. And then I made a film for the UN, which was instantly rejected. I said the cost of taking 3 women and 7 men to India, flew them into India, 6 months training costs. Bought 140 panels, solar electrified 5 whole villages, insured, transported, and completed it in 6 months. Was the cost of 1 UN consultant sitting in 1 year for Kabul. And they said, but that's not true. I said, yes, it is true. You are spending on each consultant in Kabul $150,000. And that's what it cost me to solar electrify 1 village. Today there are 700 consultants sitting in Afghanistan, and there's not 1 village which has been even solar electrified today. These women, these 3 women, remarkable women, have actually trained 27 more women in Afghanistan and solar electrified 130 houses. So that is a real good test for me to show that the barefoot approach has been accepted, has been adopted, has been carried on. I don't have to be there. It's just a question of how you make people understand that this is the only sustainable approach today. Went to Bhutan. Fantastic country. I said, I'd like to train some women from Bhutan. Of course, I have the biggest problem with engineers. They said, forget it, no way that you can take women from Bhutan. When someone says that to me, it's just the right sort of thing to get your blood up. So, we have actually solar electrified. Sorry, I'm showing you so film, but that's the only way to actually convince you. This is a story about unusual warriors and the most unlikely of heroes. This is about very poor women leading very simple lives in Bhutan who have made such an extraordinary difference to their own communities. It was the first time ever that the barefoot approach was tried in Bhutan. The old conservative established solar engineering community, used to a top-down approach within the government, were totally skeptical that this grassroots community-based bottom-up approach would ever succeed. This process created history in the country because it was the first time the district administration, the grassroots political leaders, and the poor communities collectively were ever consulted to take major decisions. 35 barefoot women solar engineers have solar electrified the following villages in Bhutan: Jadingkha in Thimphu district, Gengkha, Paro district, Yaba, Ha district, Satakha Sibichang Tulunggaon in Samse district, Salamji Samarchu in Dagana district, Gogona in Wangdu Phodang district, Bhumi Dara in Sarpang district, Nadag Jangbi in Tongsa district, Gojong in Jemgang district, Chusa Shawa in Lunse district, Otola in Mongar district, Namkhari in Pema Gashel district, Bemo Porang in Samdruk Jongkha district. 900 families from 70 non-electrified villages were visited in 15 districts covering the whole country in 3 months. The staff of the Barefoot College spent nights in the village, refusing to take any extravagant daily allowances, thus saving a lot of money, but more important, it gave them time to hear what the poor people, the actual users, had to say. In the process, 35 women were selected direct by the community. It was the first time in their lives they had ever left their village to come so far away to a strange country. The Indian ambassador gave them confidence before they left. The women from Himalayas traveled in a train and saw a desert for the first time. They lived on vegetarian food for 6 months. They showed extraordinary courage to come to a strange country, in a strange land, where they could not speak their own language, and to learn about solar technology, just using their hands, their practical skills, their native intelligence to become solar engineers without using the written word. They learned through sign language how to fabricate charge controllers, inverters, install solar panels, and link them to deep cycle batteries. They lived simply, worked together, and in spite of the tremendous obstacles facing them, they never complained. With the money saved, they all managed to visit Bodh Gaya and even buy a mobile phone. On their return between May and June in 2008, within 3 months, all the solar units were distributed to the 500 houses in 48 villages all over Bhutan.
भएर पनि केटी भएर पनि पहिले त सम्झेको थियो यत्रो उमेरमा त यति उमेरसम्म त घरमै बसेर केही जान्दैन थियौँ र हामीले सोचेको पनि थिएन पढी लेखी छैन के छैन हामी कसरी यत्रो कहीँ विदेश जानु पाउला भनेर तर अचानक सरकार आउनु भएर विदेशबाट फेरि सरकारले पनि पठाउनु भएर त इन्जिनियर सोलर इन्जिनियर हुनु पाए यसमा त हामीलाई धेरै गर्व छ धेरै खुसी छ र सबैले चिन्छ पनि सबने पहिचान लिया हम सोलर इंजीनियर बन गया विदेश से जाके आया इस लड़की तो सबने पहचानता है अब तक सब बोलता है यहाँ दोरखा देखी ले और जोंखा भी सब पहचानते हैं हमने विदेश जाके ट्रेनिंग करके आया फिर अच्छा होगा ये तो आपने आपको गर्व लगता है खुश लगते हैं
The women solar warriors of Bhutan proved the impossible is possible. They each established a total of 18 rural electronic workshops in 13 districts, thus making it possible to carry out all major and minor repairs even before any solar units were installed in the villages. The villagers could not believe that women could climb and install solar panels on the roofs. A total of 35 kilowatts have been installed, saving 5,000 liters of kerosene every month and saving 80 tons of carbon emissions from polluting the environment.
Solar line ayo yo ta abo kam लाग्दैन अब यतै राख्नु होला यसो हो नि
त्यसले ngachi asi she bela rangi chindu kiu shindu te rangi habai hapsuema pangachi yuntu gane mila te ngachi yuntu nale chi joachni abcd se gane mishila te ngachi gi lab kit holebe ani labbe daudru madu tele daudru na ngachi gi solar engineer te ngachi gi besupchila tele male na owe te ngachi na 공바 케치 숨나가지기 뿌라 쭈에쭈이라 데 뚜베 뚜치 땡가지기 가 배우신데디 두트에 튕시슈니라.
For the first time in the history of any solar electrification work in Bhutan, and in keeping with the new policy of the royal government, very poor families have willingly agreed to pay between 40 to 60 rupees a month for the repair and maintenance. 48 villages have agreed in writing, something unheard of in this country.
अब केटी मान्छेहरूले केही पनि काम गर्न सक्दैन अब सबै केटीहरू कमजोरी गरेर नबस्नु आफ्नो खुट्टामा उभिन सक्नु भनेर थियो.
What is unique has been the contribution of the rural communities, agreeing to construct a workshop in the village at their own cost. Whole villages agreeing to transport the solar panels and batteries on their back, sometimes a 2-day walk, free of charge, agreeing to form a solar committee to make sure everyone pays their monthly contribution. How has solar lighting improved the quality of life? Farmers using lanterns at night to bring back lost animals and protect themselves against snake bites. Traditional midwives use the lanterns to deliver babies instead of using candles and torch batteries. The women now cook at night in the open with solar lanterns. They work on increasing their income by making handicraft items at home. Children study at night without damaging their eyes or harming their lungs from the fumes of kerosene lamps. Women do not have to walk for miles across the Himalayas to nearby towns to fetch 20 liters of kerosene. Never in the history of Bhutan has 48 remote, inaccessible villages ever been solar electrified within a period of 1 year. Never in the history of Bhutan has 500 houses been solar electrified by 35 illiterate and semi-literate young women in the country. They are now the new solar warriors of Bhutan. The Solar Warriors have agreed to register the first ever Barefoot Solar Engineers Association of Bhutan. The hope and belief is that one day in the very near future the royal government decides to hand over all solar electrification work, including installation and repair and maintenance of all defunct solar units, in the competent and confident hands of the women Solar Warriors of Bhutan.
I feel so deeply encouraged to see the confidence that these women have in themselves and how contribute to their villages, to their families in such remote areas.
Malum and no malum. That is lovely. Bring light, literally light into their lives is something which I am so proud of today. I'm
absolutely moved. And I think for Bhutan to collaborate with India in training our village ladies to become barefoot engineers is something which I think it's really a testament. I think in the past we would have never imagined that our village ladies, that there is a sense of achievement, the sense of pride, they are recognized, they feel so fulfilled. And in their fulfillment, the entire communities benefit. So my gratitude to the Barefoot College and my pride in the barefoot engineers.
What the 35 extraordinary but very ordinary heroes have done is to set an example by demonstrating how the impossible is possible and contributed tangibly to the policy of gross national happiness in Bhutan. We learnt a very important lesson. Men are untrainable. They're restless, they're ambitious, they're compulsively mobile, and they all want a certificate. And the moment you give them a certificate, within 24 hours they leave the village and you're lost. So we have a very simple policy: no certificates and only training grandmothers. So in Africa, in 2004, we went to almost the whole continent of Africa. We have covered 27 countries, 140 grandmothers, 10,000 houses solar electrified by these illiterate grandmothers, saved over 160,000 liters of kerosene. They all speak to each other, but they can't understand a word. They all speak Swahili and dialects, but the body language is perfect. They all want to learn, and I keep telling them that you are the only engineers of your country. Don't forget, you are the ambassadors. There is no solar engineer from a village in any country in Africa that I know. So I said, you are the only and the first. So they come as grandmothers and go back like tigers. The cost of solar electrifying 75 villages, 9,000 families, is the cost of $2 million. Is the cost of what Mr. Jeff Sachs spends on 1 millennium village. And there are 14 millennium villages in Africa. And he's just sending the wrong message and the wrong places everywhere in the world. So I hope there's no one in the audience who's supporting Jeff Sachs, because he hasn't got it right. If you've got that much money, spread it around. If you have $2.5 million, I'd like to give it to 140 grandmothers, 10,000 houses, save 160,000 liters of kerosene. So, someone in Zurich told me that you have actually shown in practice that the Barefoot College works. Now let's see if someone can prove it in theory. It hasn't worked. No one can say that I'm doing anything right. But it has worked because I've gone outside the box. So I'll end with a quotation from Mahatma Gandhi. He says, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. Thank you.